Don't hit that delete button. You got the right show. It's The Statement Show with guest Dale Dye. But first, help support the show. Go to thestatementshow.com and click the affiliate link. Go ahead and click on the Amazon link and do all your shopping. Bookmark the website and continue to do your shopping to help support the show. We get a little kickback and you get fantastic products through Amazon. Again, that's thestatementshow.com/affiliates, or go to our website and just click on the link. And now, Dale Dye.
Hey, this is Dale Dye, and you're listening to The Statement Show with Terry and Zach. Stay tuned.
From the Night Shift Crew Studios in the D.C. metro area, this is The Statement Show. The lights are on.
Hi, this is Krista Joyas.
Hi, this is Zach Ward.
Hello, everybody. It's Tony Todd.
Hi, this is Lillian Garcia from the WWE.
Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle.
Howdy, y'all. This is Michael Hall, Green Beret combat veteran and TV personality. You're listening to The Statement Show with Zach and Terry, so get ready to make a statement.
Welcome back to The Statement Show. I'm Terry James.
And I'm Zach Chahy, and we are the podcast that fits in no category.
Today, we are joined by Captain Dale Dye. Dale is an actor, technical advisor, radio personality, and writer. He's also a retired U.S. Marine Corps officer, decorated Vietnam veteran. His company, Warriors Inc., specializes in training actors in war films to portray their roles realistically. What, you're still not impressed? Okay, how about this? Dale earned 3 Purple Hearts, which are awarded in the name of the president to those wounded while serving in the military. He starred in a few small movies you might have heard of called Platoon, Born on the 4th of July, Band of Brothers, and Saving Private Ryan, just to name a few. Dale has worked with the who's who of Hollywood, and today he gets to add our name to his resume. Dale Dye, welcome to The Statement Show.
Hey, thanks, guys. I'm glad to put you on the resume, such as it is, and thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. And you know what? It is an absolute honor to have you on with us. Your resume speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think my reputation exceeds me, but okay, good. I'm with you.
The only 2 military people that most people know in the mainstay of all movies is either yourself or Lee Remy. Those are the 2.
Lee Remy.
Yeah, Remy. Yeah. So, am I saying that right?
Yeah, Remy.
Yeah.
What do I have to do here? Pay attention. It's Lee Remy.
Lee Remy.
See, that Marine Corps is already coming out on him, Zach. You better watch it.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Shows up like a bad penny. It's one of those things.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that, believe me, I want to get into the movies. I want to get into your company. The military aspect of everything is just something that you're the Purple Hearts, all your decorated things that you may have. Please talk to us how you actually got into the military.
Well, I actually was kind of lost. I went to military schools, Missouri Military Academy in Mexico, Missouri, and I really wanted to go to the Naval Academy and do the whole standard route, but I played too much football and baseball and didn't study enough, and so I failed the exams for the Naval Academy, not once but 3 times. And I was kind of at a loss. There was no money for college, and in those days, they didn't have all the grants and scholarships and so on and so forth. So I was kind of, I was faced with sticking around southeast Missouri and banging my head into farming or cotton picking or something. And that I always felt I was an adventuresome kid, and I always felt that there was a greener pasture over the hills. So I said, I need something that's going to kick my ass. I need something that's going to kickstart whatever the hell this life has in store for me. And one day I walked past a post office and I saw this poster, and there was this rock-jawed Marine in dress blues standing at parade rest, and he said, "Are you ready?" And I looked at that and I said, "Shit, I think I am." So I went in and enlisted in the Marine Corps, and it was a hell of a dance, and I never looked back. I think it built my character, and it shaped who I am, and later sort of led me down some very weird roads, and it gave me a taste of combat, and it led me to understand that there is something really, really special. It's combat is an event, thank God, that not many people experience on the whole, but it runs the full gamut of human emotions. You see the worst of mankind and the best of mankind. And I was wise enough, even at that age, to pay attention to that. and to assimilate it. And so I look at the entire 21-year experience as a blessing.
Mm. You spent 21 years total, but 13 of those enlisted, correct?
That's right. I enlisted originally and went all the way up to the rank of master sergeant, relatively high in the enlisted grades. And then there were people. The Marine Corps was undergoing a sort of an agony, as were the other services after Vietnam, trying to come up to the all volunteer force and clean up the ranks and get rid of the Vietnam stink. And some senior officers came to me and said, listen, we need you to be an officer. We need young guys who have experienced it, who know it from both ends of the spectrum, to be commissioned. And, I said, well, okay, whatever you say, Coach. And they sent me to Quantico, and I became an officer, and then finished out my career, made it to the rank of captain, had one more kind of quasi-combat tour in Beirut, 1982-83, Beirut, Lebanon. And then I was kind of through with it. That's abrupt, but
yeah, no. And what did you notice as like the major difference between the enlisted versus the commission? Was there a huge difference?
Yeah, there was. I had made a lot of friends and a lot of very close associates as an enlisted guy. The Marine Corps is a small pond, and you become a big fish in it if you're any good at it. And so when I was commissioned, I had to sever some of those relationships or change them. And that was tough. It was also a matter of a larger view of leadership. I had to always look at a bigger picture. What was good for the organization, not just what was good for my little small clique. And leading at that level is a real character builder. If you pay attention and if you try to do it right. And I think it emboldens your warrior spirit if you have one of those to begin with, and I did. So it was kind of the capstone. I think it taught me how to lead. It taught me how to understand people, how to deal with people, how to take them in extremis and train them and make them understand that they must rely on each other, especially in extremis. And that all sounds like leadership psychobabble, but there it is. And that's what I was feeling at the time. That left you absolutely silent, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. I mean, from the transition to when you got out of the military, what made you decide to try to get into Hollywood? How did you make that transition?
Well, it was a kind of a strange deal. I mean, I left the military not really planning to, but to tell you a little story, when the bombing of the Marine barracks happened in Beirut in October of 1983, I had a lot of friends that I had served with there that were lost in that bombing, and it was totally unnecessary, and we had warned them that something like that was going to happen, and politics got in the way of tactical decision making, and it kind of broke my warrior spirit. It kind of broke my warrior's heart. And I said, I told myself on the day I was commissioned that when the day came that I couldn't look my Marines in the beady ass eyeballs and tell them, follow me, it is necessary that we die. When that day came, then I was not fit to lead. And so with that, I decided to retire. Fortunately, I had enough time in to retire rather than just get out. And I was really at a loss of what to do with myself. I mean, I knew that I'd been shot too many times to want to be a cop. And if I'd have been a cubicle rat or a defense contractor, I'd have killed myself in about 6 months. Not that spirit. I'm not that guy. So I began to think about, what's unique about me? What do I have that I can bring to the civilian table? And I didn't find much. But what I did find was that I was a war movie fan. I had seen every military movie there was, I think, for obvious reasons. That was my life, and I wanted to see it portrayed on screen. But the common denominator was that those movies mainly just pissed me off. Mm-hmm. And the reason was they didn't reflect who we were, who we really were, how we act, how we talk, how we relate to each other. And not only that, but they got a lot of the detail wrong, which unnerves and pisses off every veteran who ever sees it. And so I said, well, look, I've got nothing to lose here. Why don't I just go out to Hollywood and grab those bastards by the stacking swivel and tell them what they're doing wrong and tell them I can fix it. So I did that. And frankly, I wasn't well received. The movie industry had made war movies and made zillions of dollars for years without a guy like me and some new idea about training their actors. But I had that idea, and I wanted to do it because I felt I understood the power of the popular medium. You're part of that, by the way, for good or ill. And so I understood that if we were going to really shed some long overdue light on the service and sacrifice of the men and women who wear our uniform, then it had to be done through their media. So movies were the answer, and television was the answer. So I wanted a job in that, and I wanted a job in that coaching people on how to do proper military films. Well, I guess when you're ignorant, you can do a lot of things that people tell you can't do, and I was certainly ignorant, but I just kept fixing bayonets and banging my head against a wall out here in LA, and eventually I got little jobs here and little jobs there, helping do this, helping do that, and learning how movies actually work. And then finally I ran into a notice in a trade paper, Daily Variety, as a matter of fact, that said that a heretofore relatively unknown writer-director by the name of Oliver Stone was going to do a movie about Vietnam based on his experience as a combat infantryman. And I said, well, Jesus, there it is. If I can just reach this guy, he'll get what I'm trying to say. He'll understand how I think a movie like that should be done. And through a series of kind of nefarious exercises involving payola and lots of liquor and various other things, I managed to get his home phone number. And I called him, and I said, look, you don't know me, I don't know you, but if what I read is true, I wish you'd hear me out. I have an idea about how to do this. And I guess nobody but Oliver Stone, who's kind of a character that comes at you out of left field, nobody else would have listened to that, but he did. And he let me make my pitch. And he said, I think you may have something, we need to meet. We did meet, and we talked over my theory and his experience and my experience. And he decided to give me 33 actors and let me take them into the mountains and the jungles of the Philippines and train them to be who he and I were when we were 18, 19, and 20. And I did that. And we brought them down out of the mountains after a very, very rugged 3-week curriculum, completely cut off from everything except me. And we made this little $5 million film, brought it home, and won 4 Academy Awards, and including Best Picture. And Oliver was kind enough to recognize how much I had contributed. And at that point, it was onward and upward. I mean, nothing succeeds in Hollywood like success. So everybody was calling me, wanting to do something like Platoon, and they have me on the set and to train them and to stage the actors, train the actors and stage the combat and that sort of thing. And that in way too many words is how it happened.
So when you had all the actors together and you're doing that little boot camp, you kind of make it sound like that was kind of the first time that they put a group of actors together, did a boot camp. You kind of had an idea of how to do it. Were any of them? Yeah. Were they resistant to it or?
No. What are you going to resist? But at any rate, I'll answer that a little bit later. Look, guys long before me had been listed in credits as technical advisors, but they had done it in a sort of a superficial fashion. They taught them how to wear the uniform and put the ribbons on the right side and how to carry the weapon and how to wear their gear, and that's fine. But I knew that the real secret, the real heart of it, was living in extremis, living on the edge, and understanding that there is a bond, there is a relationship that forms and that's the real definition of love, and you have to get to that. And nobody was willing to go that deep, was willing to go that far. Well, I was, and I did. But it's a very rugged experience. It always was. It always is. And I intend it to be that way. These days, actors know about it. They know about, Captain Dye's method. So they like it and they expect it and they don't resist it. Now, I have had people push back, but the theory is that they're so isolated that where are they going to push back to? I mean, what are they going to do? I got them. It's like enlisting. You're screwed.
Yeah.
And that's part and parcel of learning what it's about. And so I use that. Does that answer the question? Or?
Absolutely. I mean, I got a small glimpse. Everybody can get a small glimpse of it when they watch if you get like the box set of Band of Brothers, it has like the making of it. And it has that little training. They have
Captain Nixon's diary. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that was, by the way, incredible. I loved that miniseries. I thought you did a great job on that. So
absolutely.
Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
But everything you're involved with, it seems you bring a certain reality to it, which I think is what people come to expect now. So it's kind of like you raise the bar. So I don't think anybody can. Are you like the go-to for most of these, do you feel? Or do you have like other guys you bring into the projects now and you don't do as much? You kind of pull yourself back a little bit?
Well, the answer is, yeah, I've got a staff of guys. My executive officer, Mike Stokey, has been with me since we were kids in Vietnam. I've known him for 50 years, and he's been my number one guy in Warriors Incorporated ever since we started. And so I kind of spread the wealth. The thing that's interesting is that I quickly found out that war movies are made only occasionally. And so you maybe do one, or if you're lucky, two a year. And then there's 3 or 4 years where nobody's doing war movies anymore. So you need something to kind of pay the bills, keep people working and keep yourself busy. Mm-hmm. So I kind of expanded the whole concept. And at this point, we've done music videos for Green Day and Alice in Chains, and we've done video games for Electronic Arts, the Medal of Honor series. We've done themed entertainment where we actually went to Las Vegas when the Las Vegas Hilton had the Star Trek The Adventure ride. We trained the entire staff of actors how to be Star Trek. That's all built on a kind of a quasi-naval thing, and they wanted us to train them, so we've done that. I've always been a writer, so about 4 or 5 years ago, I established a publishing company, which is going great guns now, and not only carries my books, but about 21 or 22 other great authors, and so it's just about keeping busy and keeping the basic agenda in mind. And the agenda is really rather simple. I intend and have always intended to shine some long overdue and much deserved light on the men and women who wear the military uniform.
I want to back up real quick. I know you were in the Vietnam War, and obviously that was a very controversial time and a very controversial war. But at that time, were you ever conflicted about going there, or just because you were in the military, you were told to go, so you go? Or was there something in your mind just going, man, I don't know if this is right. I don't know if this feels right.
Yeah, I had that conflict, but I also had a sense of responsibility. Look, I swore an oath, and I swore an oath to lead, to obey, and so I did that, and I did that sometimes with a kind of a heavy heart, especially late in the war around the 1969-1970 period, when things were really getting bad there and at home, where resistance to the war had really fleshed out and become manifest in all sorts of riots and protests and various other things. And I had a kind of a heavy heart about it, but I knew what my responsibility was. I mean, I could have just said, no, I quit. But I looked at that war as a bump. It really, in the overview, had nothing to do with the honor and prestige of the military. If it cast any shadows on honor and prestige, it cast honor and prestige on the political leadership of the United States. Certainly not me, and certainly not the men and women I was serving with. So I ducked my head and went with it.
Mm-hmm. I remember when the movie first came out. I wasn't that old myself, but I remember seeing on the news that it was, a lot of people thought it was very controversial at the time when it came out. I guess it was just that people weren't used to seeing movies in that fashion. So my dad
they weren't.
My dad was in Vietnam. My dad was in Vietnam, and I remember him renting the video when it came out on VHS, and he never really talked about his time in Vietnam, but he had a hard time with that movie. So, and he didn't like to talk about it very much. Even I asked him, what'd you think? He said it was pretty good, and that was about as much as he gave me. And he told me years later that he enjoyed it, but it was kind of a hard thing to watch. So.
Yeah, it was. And look, what it did for me was it proved the power of the medium that I sensed when I started this. What happened, because of the timing, I guess, we brought Platoon out in 1985 or thereabouts, and the nation, that was 10 years after the official end of the war in 1975. So the nation still had that residual reluctance to talk about it. It was a painful experience in American society. And a whole generation of veterans had literally gone into some dark closet with it, just as your dad did. Mm-hmm. They didn't talk about it. They didn't want to deal with it. It was over. They did their part and, get on with life. I got that, but it was a canker. It was a festering boil in the stomach of our society, I think. And when we faced it full on, no bullshit, no punches pulled with a film like Platoon, I think what happened is a lot of that ice that had formed around so many veterans melted. They were able to take wives and parents and say, look, I'm not going to say anything, but I want you to watch this movie. And that's why I'm not going to say anything. And people got it. It was amazing. I mean, geez, I found myself along with Oliver Stone on the Oprah Winfrey show, talking to people about, and that was certainly not something I expected, but it proved to me that you can use the medium, the motion picture and television medium, for really good societal purposes. Not that movies should always be made with some kind of big candy ass message in them. I don't care about that. They have an obligation to entertain for the $20 you put over the till at the ticket booth. But there's also a power there. There's a power to influence thinking, and there's a power to explain and expand on things that people are concerned with. And that's part and parcel of what I wanted to do, and hopefully I got some of it done.
Okay. Of all the war, the combat movies that you've been in, or maybe even just seen, what do you feel is like the most real to life? Was it Platoon, or is there another one out there that just really hits home that you can honestly say that they've done such a fantastic job with?
Well, look, I love a bunch of war movies. I especially love the ones I've done, but Platoon is an example. Band of Brothers is an example of how bringing that verisimilitude, that truth. And not only in the look of it, but in the relationships between the soldiers. That's what counts. That's what's so alien to most people who've never experienced it. And I love showing that. But I like movies. For instance, there's a little movie by Sam Fuller called Steel Helmet, which is a tour de force in relationships of combat men. I love that movie. The business of the sacrifice that families make and things like that is I think brought to the fore in movies like The Bridges at Toko Ri. And so those movies that examine the experience of soldiering are my favorites.
Full Metal Jacket, did you like that one, or is that kind of like a comedy?
The funny thing about it is that Full Metal Jacket was based on a book called The Short Timers by a guy who was actually in my unit in Vietnam, Gustav Haspert. He's dead now, God bless him. But Stanley Kubrick took that film and very wisely hired Lee Ermey to do the drill instructor role. Lee was a real drill instructor. Mm-hmm. And so it became 50% of a great movie. And that's the first 50% with Lee and the boot camp sequences. That was absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
But then he fell through his ass on the Battle of Waist City, which I was in TED of 1968. And he just made it look like, a battle that involved one female sniper. I mean, believe me, it was much more than that. So I didn't think much of it. So when I watch it, I watch the first half and turn it off.
Wow. I gotta agree. Not that I'm trying to agree.
Most people do. Yeah.
I love the first half of the movie. There's just something about it that seems real.
Yeah.
But
Lee knocked it right out of the park. It was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. When you think drill sergeant, his image just pops in your head. That's the only thing you think of.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. That's his legacy. He's going to live with that for the rest of his life. So.
Yeah. We've got to get him on the show. That guy is so amazing.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, he's fun.
So a buddy of mine who was in the military, he was in the Army, he heard we were going to have you on. He loves your work, and he had a couple questions for me he wanted to ask.
Sure.
So I'm going to throw one out to you. He says, we're all excited about your new movie, Citizen Soldiers, coming out. He says, I know I am. Without giving away anything, what was it like working on the set, and can you tell us anything we should be excited to see?
There is no set. Citizen Soldiers is still in development. It's a story about the Battle of the Bulge, the 28th Infantry Division. It's a great story. It's a great script. And I've been helping with that script. And right now, the plain truth of the matter is the producers are still out trying to raise money to get it made.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I want to ask one more of his questions. His name's Eric Saunders, by the way. Like I said, he's a big fan of yours.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm sure there's always a tight schedule when you're shooting a movie, but outside of that, what are any times while serving as a technical director that you feel overwhelmed, or do you situations like that?
Well, I've learned to handle them. I learned the shortcuts, and Eric will be glad to hear that it's much like fighting a battle. You pick your battles. Some things are worth fighting over and delaying and taking your time with, and some aren't. And the magic is knowing which one is which. I get frustrated, especially with directors who are obsessed with. Obsessed is the wrong verb, but it's time and money, and I want to get everything absolutely right. I want those moments in the film when the hair stands up on veterans' arms and they get goose flesh. And some directors just don't see it, or they don't have time for it. And so I try to sneak it in. The key is to know the shortcuts. The key is to know how you can work around and get it in there, whether he wants it in there or not. And if you do it in a subtle fashion, and if he respects your ability and your talent, it works out. It was much harder when I first started than it is now.
Okay.
Yeah, you know something? I tell you what I want to hear, Zach. I got to hear about these 3 Purple Hearts, Dale. How exactly do you earn? It wasn't one. You get one, and then you grab a second. Now 3 is just showing off, Dale. How do you end up with? How do you end up with 3 Purple Hearts, man?
You have to be the enemy's best target. That's the bad guy marksmanship badge. I was in a lot of close combat, and a couple of times I got hit with rounds and had to recover. I was fortunate enough that none of them were so bad that I couldn't continue to serve. So it was a matter of being patched up in a hospital, and then interestingly, they would generally say, well, you want another job or you want to go back? And of course I said I want to go back, because I felt that as a professional, that's where I belonged. I belonged up on the line. You get hurt, but it's all part and parcel of the game. I mean, and game is, I say that flippantly, but it's part and parcel of what you're trying to do. There's pain involved, and the other guy gets a vote. He'll shoot at your ass, and you better be good enough to duck. And 3 times I wasn't. So, and there's a lot of things that happen, high explosive, when they're throwing mortars around or they're throwing grenades around, and you just spattered with shrapnel and, metal pieces of the shell casing. And, that stuff can hurt and it can cripple. But I was fortunate enough to be able to go on. And the answer to your question directly is, I got hurt and I said, I want to get healed and I want to get back. And that's what I did.
Now, since you've, even when you were in, but now, obviously now that you're out, PTSD, is that something that you ever had to deal with?
I did, but I was fortunate enough. There was a period of about 10 years after the war when it was very difficult for me to deal with civilians of any ilk. We wouldn't have been having this conversation. I didn't realize at the time it was PTSD because, frankly, we didn't know that term. It was just anger, I felt, and I had to get out of it. I had to shake out of it, and I eventually did. And now I've come to the conclusion that, look, I really object to post-traumatic stress disease. It's not a disease. It's the natural human reaction to high stress, life or death situations. And frankly, I think it builds character. I think there's way too much tendency on the part of all veterans to cry the poor ass and just say, well, woe is me. I've been through a traumatic experience, so therefore I'm injured and I'm doomed to be a cripple psychologically for the rest of my life and give me a lot of money. I object to that. And I'm on a soapbox about it lately, which sometimes doesn't make me very popular, but the hell with it. It's what I think, and it's what I'm going to say. But look, it is a real thing, but it is not a crippling thing. It can be a thing that, if you learn to deal with it, that actually makes you better and stronger. And I like to think that the period that I went through did that. It gave me some real grit in the gut, and it taught me that you're going to get hit, you're going to get hurt, and you've got to get up, and you've got to be strong enough mentally as well as physically to deal with it. And if you do, you become a much, much better human being.
Yeah, it has to be tough. When you're in combat, you're in war situations, and you lose someone in your unit. Is that, do you have to have short-term memory on something, or is that something that's still, does that last a lifetime with you, or do you kind of have to go, you know what, I got to forget this? Now, obviously, I know right now you can kind of sit back and reflect, but I guess in combat, you almost have to have short-term memory about it, right?
You have to get over it in a hurry. I don't know that short-term memory is the right term, but you're moving in the right direction. You have to be able to accept it and move on. The time for contemplating it, the time for mourning when you're in combat is later. And you should feel free to do that, but you can't let it debilitate you. You can't. I've seen it happen. I've seen guys lose somebody I've lost somebody very close to me, and at that moment the world seems to end. But it hasn't, and it can't, and you must not let it. So you have to simply steel up. You have to man up and get over that moment and continue through and do what you need to do and take care of your brothers and get the mission accomplished, and then mourn later.
Well, we had heard from, a lot of what you're saying resonates with an interview we did earlier with a gentleman named, his name is Michael Hawk. He had done a reality show. I think Terry, was he a Ranger or in the Special Forces?
But Special Forces. Right?
We even asked him if he knew who you were. He knew who you were, but he had never spoke to you before. I think he said he met you once or twice, but he said he admired your work as well. But he had talked about the whole PTSD, and it was just a matter of identifying it and getting some help if you know you need it. And he said he had it. He didn't realize that's what the problem was, but he said the exact same thing you did. He would not talk to anybody that wasn't in the military, didn't understand what he had gone through, or just didn't have the patience for it. So, but yeah, a lot of what you're saying is very identical to what he said. So I think it's just a matter of people getting help.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, because we're brought up in sort of a Judeo-Christian masculine ethic, we tend to eat that stuff. We tend to swallow it. And I found, especially in the work I'm doing now in movies and television, training other people, young actors, It's a kind of a catharsis. I got it out instead of letting it sit in my gut and rot for decades. And the writing I did in many ways was cathartic. It's one of the reasons, I started Warriors Publishing Group. Let those veterans who have got these great stories, I'll get them published. I'll get them out there, so people can share it. But the reverse benefit of that is that by writing about it, by talking about it, they get it out there. And that runs kind of counter to the masculine warrior image, I guess. But really, if you do it, if you're willing to do it, and I'm not talking about sitting in some, dancing around the maypole and singing Kumbaya, but I'm talking about finding somebody that you can talk to about it. Just revisit the experience, in words, in conversation. Sometimes that feels like flushing the toilet. You get that out there, and it makes you feel a little cleaner, a little better. And so I'm an advocate of it.
Okay. What do you think today? Like, obviously the military today versus what you went through is obviously completely different. What's your feeling on like how now they can pull the stress cards and all the things that go on? Do you feel the military's any different than the way it was when you went through it?
Yes. And I think what's happened, unfortunately, is certain elements of our political leadership have found the military to be a great petri dish for social experimentation. Mm-hmm. And they've done so to the detriment of the basic ability of the military to build that warrior spirit. That warrior spirit is what sustains you through the hard times. And the more the politicians get in there and dick around with it, the worse off we are. We've got to, for instance, you take this business of integrating males and females in the ranks of the straight line combat units. Now, I'm a huge fan of females in the military, and I think they bring a tremendous amount of talent, skill, motivation, dedication to the table. But when it comes down to ground combat, I don't think we need to be mixing the sexes. There is already enough tension. Mm-hmm. And these are 18, 19, 20-year-olds, male and female, who are beset with raging hormones. All you got to do is think back on your high school years to figure that out.
A long time ago.
But it was a significant point in your life, and don't tell me it wasn't, or you're lying.
Oh, no.
The point is, you've got to deal with those things, and on top of that, you've got to deal with all of the stress that training for ground combat brings. And you look for outlets, and you look for that tremendous brotherhood, and I use that word advisedly, that you're trying to build, and that is the key to success in combat. And you don't need anybody putzing around with that. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we've had people who see it differently, and who think that the military should be an absolute mirror reflection of civilian society, and it cannot be, and it must not be. And they have fooled around in there, I think, to the detriment of our ability to train warriors and fight wars.
Well, on that note, since we're talking about today's military and what's going on today, I did get a question about this, but also I'm kind of curious what your opinion is about what's currently going on with North Korea. Somebody had asked me what they thought, maybe your opinion was on us dropping the Moab. As far as, do you think that was a message to North Korea, or
that was a big ass neon sign?
Pretty much. That's what I think too.
Was. But blink, blink, blink. Pay attention. Look, I applaud the current administration for letting the generals do what they need to do, letting the warriors do what they need to do. So dropping the Moab, which was not a decision from the White House, it was a decision from the theater commander. Mm-hmm. And I think that was terrific. And I think it had the effect of being that blinking neon sign to Pyongyang. Now, Pyongyang has been an itchy burr in the saddle of Western civilization for a long time. frankly, they got a bull goose loony who's running that country, and I say that advisedly. I don't think the guy is stable, and when you've got an unstable guy with his finger on the button, now people would say to me, yeah, well, how about Donald Trump? He's an unstable guy with his finger on the button. I don't think that's true.
Right.
But I do think it's true when it comes to Kim Il-sung in North Korea. This guy has got to be controlled. Now, how's it going to happen? Well, we've threatened him. I think China is a key. If China is willing to impose some sort of tariffs or some sort of imposition of control on North Korea, the world is better off. I think they will, but I think it will come at a price. I think China is going to say, look, okay, we'll keep the idiot under control. We'll keep the loony locked in his cage, but we need this, we need that. And I think we're going to have to negotiate that. Because the only other option is to go in there and take the bull goose loony out. And that is really a can of worms. I mean, if we start shooting in North Korea is immediately going to retaliate on South Korea, and now we've got a war we've got another land war in Asia, and I think we've learned that never ends well. So I don't know what to say except that he's got to be controlled, and we need to do whatever is necessary to control him.
It just feels like the rhetoric is ramping up every time you turn the news on. It's more of they're playing videos of blowing up the White House, although that's not the first time they've done that. So
no, it is. And
a lot of experts are coming out and saying that a lot of the gear they were parading around in that parade they did recently is so old. It's secondary hardware that could fail when they go to you hear a lot about the ICBM that can reach U.S. territory like Guam or the west coast of the United States. That's not really the fear. The fear is that he will start a badass shooting war with South Korea, which is an ally that we're absolutely pledged and confirmed to support. So we would have to go in there and respond to that. That's really the problem. Now, I don't know exactly what the plans are, but I do know from my contacts that I maintain in the military that there's a contingency if we have to do this, but nobody wants to. Kim Il-sung is really testing the waters. There's a new administration. He got away with all kinds of bat crap under the past administration. Now, you can like that or lump that, but he's now trying to see how far he can push this new guy. And if we appear to be malleable, then he continues to push. That's what I mean. He has no sense of worldliness. He has no sense of, he's such an egomaniacal dictator that he has no sense of anything he does having any effect beyond what he feels it will do for him personally and his regime personally. That's dangerous, and that's where we are with him. Oh boy,
that's a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, just by listening to you, I heard you say that really wasn't what you thought Trump was about. Do you like Trump? Are you a fan of Trump? Do you think that he's going to be good for the United States, or are you a little nervous of him yet?
No, I voted for him, and I'm not nervous yet. I think people are being too impatient with him. No president under our system can get things done by snapping his fingers. And he's got a hostile Congress. He has hostile elements in Congress. He has, I think, a hostile press. I don't want to sound like Rush Limbaugh here, but I think that it really remains to be seen. I'm confident that he is at least not of the political ilk. He's the kind of guy that understands from business, and he's had plenty of success in that. He's the kind of guy that understands that if you say you're going to do something, you need to do it. It probably is going to take him much longer than he would want or the nation would want, but I think he'll get it done. I have that confidence.
Yeah, I feel like they asked him, he wouldn't directly answer the question about when they dropped the Moab, but I think the answer that, like what you just said, I feel personally that bomb would have been dropped probably years ago, but that administration wouldn't allow it. And I feel like now
right.
The decisions were put back into the people who should be making the decisions when it comes to fighting a war, terrorism, and instead of being fought by the politicians, it needs to be fought by the people who know how to handle these things and let them make decisions.
Now what yes, absolutely. And now that the decision making power is put back in their hands, we have to hope that they, in the 10 or 20 years they've used to get to the senior ranks, have not become politicians instead of warriors. And I don't know about that. I think there is a generation of senior officers who have had to play politics their entire career. And I'm hoping that, that seed that was planted when they started, that they are warriors and they are servants of the people and they are defenders of the people, will grow and prosper now that they have an opportunity to actually exercise their power, their authority, and their skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Dale, I mean, obviously you've given us a ton of time and we greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. But there was something really quick. I seen a quote on your website where you said, and I quote, "I enjoy taking off the uniform once in a while, especially when I get a chance to do some comedy." Is that true? Is that something? I mean, do you really would you really like to do the comedy aspect of things?
Yeah, I absolutely would. Look, I have this insane sense of humor that's gotten me in trouble more than once, but I love to laugh, and I get a kick out of silly things, and I see roles on television every once in a while. I say, "Oh God, I would love to do that. I'd eat that alive." So yeah, I don't get the opportunity very often, but because I think I'm probably the most typecast guy in Hollywood, me and Lee Ermey. But when I get that shot, I mean, I take it. It doesn't. They don't even have to pay me. Just let me come in and do some gags. I mean, I kind of like that, and it's all part of entertaining, which I think is all part of teaching, which is the key, the heart and soul of training. And so I love to do it, and I wish I had more opportunity.
I'm going to give you a little bit of an opportunity right here, Dale, right now. Okay. Because I got a little game with you. I want to do a little bit of lightning round with you. Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions and just give me a simple yes, no, or have you lost your mind? Dale Dye would never do that. Okay. Are you ready?
Right.
This one's how much of a badass is Dale Dye? Okay. You ready? All right. Would you get a manicure?
No.
Would you get a pedicure?
Not no, but hell no.
Well, you said, would you? Did you? Have you?
All right. Would you take a bubble bath?
Yeah, I'd take a bubble bath, especially if there was a beautiful woman in the tub with me.
But a great answer. Great answer. How about wear a pink shirt?
Yeah, I'd wear a pink shirt if I had the right tie.
All right.
And if I was in the right place. And anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Shave your legs.
Negative.
All right. Here's my final one for you. And this one's going to be of the man of all mans. Ready?
Yeah.
Would Dale Dye ever ask for directions?
Yes, but he'd feel like shit.
Great answer. I love it. Dale, man, we want to say thank you for everything. We would have literally, man, we got to say thank you for your service in the United States military. Thank you for allowing us to be part of some of the greatest war movies ever. And thank you for being a true American hero, Dale. We greatly appreciate every ounce of time you gave to us tonight. Could not be more happier. It's been an honor.
Terry, Jack, it's my honor. And thanks very much, guys. You're champions. And good luck with the project. Keep rocking.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. You have a great night.
Okay, buddy.
I don't know about you.
That's
fantastic.
my hero.
Oh, man.
That man is my hero.
Honestly, you didn't hear a lot of us breaking in because it's like you want to take in everything he's saying. You want to give him a chance to talk, and especially like serious notes that the PTSD is like, hey, you're not going to really cut somebody off when you're talking that. So, but
and he would take a bubble bath as long as there's a beautiful lady in there.
I would too.
Of course.
So I want to throw out there real quick because we didn't have him do it, but I'm going to do it for him. So check out his website at warriorsinc.com. So he's got blog on there and some videos and a whole bunch of little crazy little links on there to check out everything in the current news. And It's actually a pretty cool site, warriorsinc.com.
Mm-hmm.
Then I want everybody, he mentioned all the books that he sells. I definitely want everybody to go check out his, because the link's on that website as well, but I am going to say it. It's warriorspublishing.com, which is a publishing company I think he was talking about. So that's warriorspublishing.com.
Well, I can assure you, when you go to thestatementshow.com and you see his interview, I'll have all the links put up there for you guys. You can click right there. Just go straight to thestatementshow.com. You'll see all those links right there. I will make sure they're all up there for Dale. I can promise you that.
Yeah, while you're there, go ahead and listen to any of our past episodes. Michael Hawk. That obviously I'm just thinking the military right now because I got him on the brain. It's like, it's like, first of all, I only mentioned it briefly. Man, Band of Brothers is my favorite. I have that box set. I've watched that so many times. It's not even funny. And he played Colonel Sink. So he's got like a little bit part, and not that it was bit, but wasn't huge, but he seems to be like in there kind of woven into all those projects. Now, I don't know about some of the other movies he's been all technical advisor on, but I don't know. It's just anybody, I've had a couple of people and they don't, right off the bat when you say Dale Dye, everybody knows who I'm talking about. But as soon as you show the picture, like, oh, I know him.
Oh, him.
So,
okay.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So,
yep. Exactly.
But he's one cool badass.
I love it.
So
you're not kidding.
When you think of people like Dale Dye, it's badass. Michael Hawk, it's badass. When you think of, what do you say? Remy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I got schooled on that one. I still can't think of the name. I definitely want to have him on the show though, but, I had a great time talking to Dale.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you have those movies and those projects and, you're going to start thinking of questions after he's gone already, but all those projects that he's done, man.
Well, when he does a couple more, we'll get him back on,
Yeah. I mean, like I said, warriorsInc.com, go to his website and check it out. But you also want to go to our website, which is, go ahead,
thestatementshow.com. www.thestatementshow.com. You always get on me. You know how you say, do we really need to add the www?
Well, come on. Come on.
I don't know that we do. Do we? Do we need to add that?
Do we need the www on this shit no more? No, isn't that just kind of, that's kind of there. It's kind of
Should I put that on Twitter? Should I make that like a Twitter question?
Yeah,
do we
like one of your famous Twitter surveys. Do we need the www anymore?
I don't think we do.
But anyway.
Well, either way, so either go to thestatementshow.com or www.thestatementshow.com. I'm not sure. But anyway, you'll see his interview, going to be links to books, to his websites, to everything. All past episodes like Zach was talking about. You're going to see them all there. We've got tons of them. We've got tons more coming. Can't really talk about too much right now, but I can assure you we've got some really, really great interviews that are lined up right now. So make sure you stay with us. Follow us on Twitter at The Statement Show. All the other ones, Zach, I'm going to draw a blank. So
I'm just going to throw it out there real quick. So here it is, one time. And again, after the end of the show, and we'll throw it up at the beginning of the show, so you have to hear about 50 million times. But anyway, right. Facebook, it's at The Statement Show. Follow us on Facebook. And then iTunes. Most importantly, subscribe to us on iTunes. The Statement. It's just The Statement with the microphone, which, we're in the midst of kind of redesigning and rethinking some things about some of the front end of the show. But hey, it's a work in progress. So that's what I like doing about the show. It's always ever changing. So
we're a workers.
Yeah. So just like I said, subscribe to The Statement on iTunes and leave a review. And, I don't care. Honest opinion, good or bad. And then
mostly good.
Yeah, mostly good, because I'll cry to iTunes to take off the bad stuff. So. But Terry's been doing a great job with the Twitter, and
oh, thank you, man.
But I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do if they go out of business. We're screwed.
Well, we're in trouble. We're in trouble when Twitter goes out. Yeah, and I can assure you guys, all this editing, everything that you hear, that's Zach. He's the man. Without Zach, these things would not become published, and I wouldn't be able to do the things that I do. So we try to work on it together. I can assure you this is not an easy process to run a podcast. Anybody that thinks it is, when you're just two people trying to get them done yourself. We don't have a staff. We don't have any of that kind of stuff. It's just Zach and I, and we're doing what we can. Probably sometimes it's a little later than others, and then you're not going to see some things from Twitter. It's because we're normal human beings. I promise you that. We're nothing special. but we do try to put everything out as quickly as possible. We try to put all the things out.
I don't know. Wait. I don't know about him. I'm something special. Terry, maybe not. Okay, that's understood, but I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I'm special. So
it's just no one's telling you're special.
Oh,
just special in your own mind.
Yeah. Oh well. So I want to say thank you to Eric Saunders for some of the great questions. I know he was busting to get me some of those questions, and we didn't ask everything, but we had a lot of questions for Dale. I wanted his opinion on the whole North Korean thing, and I'm glad he just gave us the straight shit, straight poop, straight shit, either way. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but that sounds like it's a good wrap on things. So
yeah.
So anyway, you all know how it goes. The lights are out.
See ya.
That was a big-ass neon sign.
Pretty much. That's what I think, too. But am I saying that right?
Yeah, Ermy.
Yeah.
What do I have to do here? Pay attention. It's Lee Ermy.
See, that Marine Corps is already coming out on him, Zach. Would you get a pedicure?
No, but hell no.
Well, you said, would you? Did you? Have you?
All right.
We want to thank our amazing guest, Dale Dye, for coming on the show. And again, we want to remind everybody to follow us on Twitter @Statement Show. Subscribe to the show on iTunes and leave a review, please. You'd really be helping us out. That's The Statement. Go ahead and listen to us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook @The Statement Show. And follow us on Instagram, Statement Show. You can remember that, right? Anyway, the lights are out.